The manifesto is also in support of the Sustainable Development Goals. As you are aware, potential revenues, honorable members, the exercise will potentially generate the following revenue for government. We have a table which shows the potential sources of revenue. The first one is those who require express first-time enrollment of national ID. The assumed number is about 10%. If each paid 50,000, the projected number is 1.7, which is 10%, which will generate 86 billion. Express renewal also on this, paying the same, an estimated number 1.5 will generate 75 billion. Identification cards of this is a then replacement. This is in cases of where the replacement is required. An estimated number is 1,000 at a cost of 200,000, which is 200 million. Change of particulars, if there is a cost of 200,000, at an estimated number of 1,000 will generate 200 million. So these are possible areas where revenue may be generated. The potential revenue to be generated from the mass enrollment and renewal exercise is 160.4 billion. This is in addition to the routine renewal revenue generated from other NIRA services. In conclusion, honorable members, this update is for the committee to, one, note that the current national identification cards that were issued have a 10 years lifespan and are due to expire in 2024-2025. Note that the expiry of a national identification card does not amount to expiry of citizenship of a person, nor does and does not change the NIN. Note that there are unregistered Ugandans who need to be registered, identified, and added to the National Identification Register and be issued with an enhanced national identification card. And to appraise members of the committee on the need for a mass enrollment and renewal exercise, which is scheduled to commence in June 2023 to August 2024. And appraise honorable members of the committee of the proposed roadmap for the mass renewal and enrollment exercise leading to the issuance of the enhanced national identification card. And lastly, to appraise the committee of the proposed multi-sectoral committee as part of the project governance structure. Honorable members, there is a proposed roadmap for the mass enrollment and renewal of the national identification cards, which is attached. One is approval of the renewal concept by the board. This was done in September 2021. Number two is submission and approval of the concept note, the Honorable Minister of Internal Affairs. This was done in October. The submission of the Cabinet memo on mass enrollment and renewal to Cabinet, and this the Honorable Minister did in July 2022 and Cabinet approved. Number four, approval of the Cabinet memo on mass enrollment and renewal by the Cabinet. This was done. Number five, formation of the multi-sectoral committee, the technical advisory task force, to be done by the Minister in August. Launch of the multi-sectoral committee by the Minister to be done in September. The benchmarking exercise with countries that have carried out the mass renewal. This is set for September 2022. Submission of the implementation strategy and specifications to the task force for renewal. This will be done by NIRA in September 2022. Approval of the specifications of the new NSIS card, designed and implementation strategy by the board. This will be done by October 2022. Comprehensive budget preparation, system mass enrollment and renewal, and presentation to to the board for approval to be done by NIRA management by October 2022. Submission of approved of the comprehensive budget to the Ministry of Finance. Submission of the approved comprehensive budget by the board to be done by October 2022, and procurement of the system and related supplies to be done by NIRA and USPC by November 2022. Delivery of the system and related supplies, this is by NIRA and USPC, expected by between November 2022 and August 2023. Establishment of the data processing center by NIRA between January and March 2023. Recruitment and training of temporary staff. This is to be done by NIRA management and board between March and May 2023. Enrollment and renewal between June 2023 and August 2024. And availability of the data for the Electoral Commission for the electoral cycle to be done by NIRA by September 2024. Honorable Minister, Honorable Chair, I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, PS, for the presentation. Honorable members, you've heard the presentation of the PS from NIRA. And Honorable Minister, as the PS was presenting, particularly on the roadmap, I was seeing him, everything is in the future tense. And yet for us, we are seeing the exercise is actually running out of time, and that's why Parliament is concerned, especially for us as politicians. We want ready new ideas by 2025, because 26, that's when we will be actually winding up. So, and when you are talking of comprehensive budget preparation and procurement, we passed a budget where you did not have the support budget for this exercise. And yet you want to start your activities in 2022. Where are you getting that money from to undertake these activities? You had the issue of the old system that was closed, that German system. What is it called? Yes. Have you disposed of that? Are you getting another system that has an open source? Because as a country, we keep on spending money on the system that is closed. You keep on paying them, and at the end of the day, this revenue that you are talking about, we end up paying it back to the service providers. So, which system this time round are you intending to procure? Then, Honorable Minister, I also wanted to find out the relationship between the new identity cards and the DNA bank of the same sector that you are holding off. This is the DIGAL. How far have they gone with the DNA bank? Because we were premised that it will be one of the features of the new identity cards, and we gave them money. I think we approved some money. If the ministry has not released, and yet it is a critical feature, what are you doing with your ministry to ensure that at least the DIGAL fast tracks that? There are many things that I've noted, but I want my other members to raise most of the issues, and especially I'm looking at the financial year where you are saying the financial year 2022-2023 didn't have any single budget, yet identity cards are soon expiring, and you are continuing to give out new identity cards to the people, and yet it is a source of revenue that you're expecting. What will happen to the citizens if they pay, like for the new identity cards in 2024, 2025, yet you are coming up with new identity cards? You want to charge the same person who recently paid for the same service? What is the transition order kind of? Are we going to have a stop and say that from this year we are not supplying new identity cards until we get new identity cards? Honorable members,
enrollment. So my question is, the budget cycle is beginning this September. Have you targeted this as one of the areas, key areas, that must not be under the line of unfunded priorities? Then also, Chair, there was the issue of those who want express national IDs pay 50,000. And it is from the same, I think Afande Kuhingira knows that when there was a window for express passports, most of us now go for express passports, and you are overwhelmed. Instead of the 10 days or the 4 days, it has now also come to the long system. The period it takes to get an ordinary passport is the same with the express passport. How have you benchmarked to see that express national IDs don't also take eternity like a normal process? I've paid for the 50 for an express ID, and then it takes me again 3 months or to go through the same process like a person who didn't pay any coin. Then you are also stating that you benchmarking in 4 countries that recently renewed or rolled out mass national ID. Which are these 4 countries? And are you a special category? The government put a ban on travels abroad. Is this one a special program that should be allowed to travel abroad? And then, Madam Chair and Honorable Minister, the question of the DNA, then capture of the Irish. It is what was envisaged even when we were making these national IDs. I happened to take part in the law that actually operationalized the issues of national IDs in the 9th Parliament. And it was Rossi. They were telling us, you will no longer need any travel document, you only need this national ID that will have a chip, and as you cross the border, all the information is gathered. Eventually, what we were given was just an ordinary national ID. Today, you are saying it is going to capture even the Irish, it is going to capture, you are exploring the DNA. What assurance can you give Parliament that given funds, this national ID will actually be an e-ID? Thank you.
Piloted that DNA issue. Which countries have used the DNA to capture, to be used on identity cards?
Thank you so much, Chair. The NIRA is issuing identity cards also to have a registration of death, people who die. Now, I want to get it from the team. Do you have a register of people who are dying every day with you, and are they registered? Because on page 12, you are emphasizing that the new registration, and actually that was one of its objective, is to help on security matters. But here, I don't know to what extent you have gone in the registering citizens who die. And I think it is, we have crime rate which is going up, and this one is amplified by registration of SIM cards. Before somebody attains a SIM card, he registers it, and you must have an identity card. But I don't know whether people who die every day, that their identity cards are recalled, whether we have that registration.
I keep on giving information for clarity. Recently, our member of parliament from Busongola lost the petition in the Court of Appeal because of the voters who had died. That's what they said, that they found themselves voting. And the government spent a lot of money in the by-election. So this is also a critical concern. Where is that register, so that people know that we have a register of Ugandans who are dead?
Finally.
Okay, so that we don't repeat it.
Honorable Minister, you are here. Now that you are Minister of Internal Affairs, I think this should be done. But I have failed to understand the role, if they are not doing this, the role of VISO, PISO, GISO, DISO, all these people start from the villages. Yes, VISO, Village Security Organization, is also there. There is also PISO, Parish Security is also there. I think it should have been, this is the time that these people should have, because the VISO and the PISO, they stay in the villages to identify those people who don't die actually from the hospitals. They should have been furnished with information and necessary equipment, so that when people die from there, they furnish that information immediately to the NERA, so that those people are registered immediately. So finally, members, he talked about that new applicants will need the police to approve their registration. Now I'm wondering, my sub-county Nyarushanje, we have one police post with 3 policemen, and I have 13 parishes. I have a number of people, adults, who are over 7,000. How will these three policemen help to sign and to verify the citizens in over 10 parishes? How will this one be applicable? Thank you so much for now. Let's first hear from that.
Honorable Chair, I have, it is not very clear. Yes, we have been shown about the roadmap, and as for August, which closed yesterday, there is something which had to be constituted by the minister. August has gone. Can we take it that no, this is August 2022, and the technical advisory task force is not yet in place? Honorable Minister, can you tell us when do you expect? Because now you are already out of time. Can you tell us when do you expect this to be out? Is it today or tomorrow, so that you can borrow some days in September? Two, Honorable Chair, how much will this entire exercise cost? How much will the entire exercise cost? And what is budgeted for in the current financial year in that regard? PS can assist us in that regard. Further, in the last enrollment, some Ugandans failed to register, and there was no payment. In that, they were not required to pay any cost. Now, how viable is it that with a renewal, a proposal of 50,000 is required for the renewal and registration? How viable is it? Because in the previous registration, there was no charging any fee, but people still failed. How have you investigated that, and you have found that it will be viable to generate that money?
Information on that one, since we are discussing the same, you are talking of change of particulars. What if those particulars are a result of your negligence in NERA? Because my son's name at one time was wrongly spelled by NERA. It took me a lot. Go here, go there, pay. So what if it is out of your negligence and you are charging 50,000?
Thank you, Chair. This time around, Honorable Chair, can NERA and Ministry of Internal Affairs consider to generate and construct national identity cards with no expiry dates? Because yes, we understand that the explanation which was given that after 10 years, the face appearance changes. Why is it that since now we are going back to gather data afresh? When it comes after 10 years, a person only appears afresh to capture his face again, not to gather further information. Can we get a technology. Only if a person is to appear after 10 years, he's still alive, he only appears to get fresh facial appearance. Madam Chair, are the materials for the identity cards already procured or not? And what is the status of these persons with dual citizenship and the citizenship by descent? PS has not explained much about it, and this goes hand in hand with the registration of Ugandans who are abroad. Because I am aware, PS and the minister, these days you are trying to soften issues for Ugandans, where you are trying to establish immigration centers abroad. Is there an arrangement where Ugandans are going to be facilitated to register from where they are abroad? Also putting into consideration, because these are government agencies, there is a case which went against Electoral Commission, where they were directed to register people in prisons, even people who are abroad. And as you are much aware that NIRA and the Electoral Commission, they find themselves working. I think the information is exchanged in one way or the other. Is there an arrangement where there is something which you have mentioned about the multi-sectoral? I didn't understand much, PS, about that. Multi-sectoral, where the minister is already out, the multi-sectoral committee. This one I beg to understand more. What does it involve? Does it cut across various sectors, including EC, where you are going to bring people, or various people in various sectors, the population census and what have you, to come on board? I don't understand that. And lastly, this issue, Chair has mentioned about it, this issue of DNA. This issue of DNA bank, among the issues which is going to be considered during the capturing of the information. We already considered this under the GAL. Is this a different issue, or you work hand in hand with the GAL? We need to get more information about that. And lastly, about the manpower, it is not yet on the schedule. Honorable Minister, when you look at the Attorney General's report, some issues went bad as far as the procurement of the laptops. The Auditor General, thank you. The Auditor General's report, where they said that the procurements in that procurement were, the costs were so high, and issues related to that. How have you gone, how far have you gone with investigating these issues and coming? What is the current status? What is the report upon your investigation? What have you come up with to address the concerns of the Auditor General? Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Mseven William. I represent Webcasters Constituency. Not to be change per se, that everyone should change. Because some people, they change with intentions, even to defraud. Like you may get someone with a national ID, you can see him that he's 50 years, but he will tell you he's 35. There are some people who change their IDs because they want to stand some positions that have the age limit, and then they change accordingly. Others, they change these IDs because they want to benefit from government programs. For example, say if someone is 75 will come and tell you they quoted the wrong age, and you give him or her 80 years, and they go and they benefit from the government program. Yes, so I think the ministry should see that, and they put the limitations should not be changed per se. Another thing is, Chair, there are some people who have been bothering me who that their IDs were withdrawn from them from the border posts, especially Rwanda border, and they were not given back to them. So I don't know if the ministry have heard of that issue. People who have been crossing to Rwanda and the national IDs withdrawn from them at the border posts. They would like to know what's their fate and or what can we advise them. Thank you.
To the accessibility to national ID by the citizens, it is a habit in this country that we have become so hospitable to everyone who intends to become a citizen of Uganda, even without asking questions where they are coming from and why they want to be citizens of Uganda. Just in our neighborhood here, I happen to border Kenya, but it's extremely difficult for someone to get a national ID for Kenya. It happens here in Uganda, it's very easy. When you are in Uganda and you want a non-Ugandan and you want to get a national ID, it becomes very easy. I want to know which mechanism, as we aspire to roll, to have a mass renewal exercise, we have in place for our country to only have citizens getting IDs and those who want to become citizens going through legal means to acquire national ID. Because so many people are carrying Ugandan IDs, but they haven't passed all the legal channels to acquire the national IDs. I just want to know, in this intended exercise, which mechanisms have we put in place so that people who intend to get their national IDs get them legally. Another thing, Honorable Mulima Mayuni, Honorable Abdallah, so Honorable, I have seen here, you have indicated that express renewal of national identity cards. We have been replacing national IDs, Madam Chair, and I think the replacement has been going at a certain fee. We want to know whether, as government, we have been benefiting from these people who come to replace the national IDs, and yet it has also helped us to reduce on the budget that government would be now going to incur in paying for the national IDs, for the replacement. Madam Chair, I think we also have a problem, and this, as we aspire to go in the future to replace the national IDs, we have a problem that when we are at the stage of applying to have a national ID, the personnel we employ as NIRA do not meet the standards of producing a national ID without questions. For example, there is a team which is supposed to go through that application form. Sometimes they employ people who cannot even read the names properly. Ideally, the enrollment officer is supposed to receive a card which has already been perused by the team as appointed by NIRA. And then from there, even the enrollment officer entering the particulars of that person should also be able to read the name Wakoli Godfrey. What happened in 2014 is that we had people, for example, I come from Bugisu, you had people coming from as far as Soroti to come and enroll from Bugisu, yet someone from Soroti does not know how to pronounce the name Wakoli very well. So because of that pressure, and the system was slow, someone types the name, sometimes instead of Wakoli, he writes Akoli, because he knows in Soroti, name starts with A. So I think we also be very careful when we are going to recruit this staff of NIRA if we want to get the correct results. So I beg to submit, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. In addition to what you have said, Minister, what justification does your team give for the increment of what is this percentage from 50 to 200,000? 50 to 200,000. If you think of your person in Kashenshoro there, that peasant, really, that old woman that has lost the identity card to pay 200, I think that is too much.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Madam Chair. I want to begin with the renewal of the national identity cards, which my mother or my grandfather from Tultul in Kiwedde district, where some children have gone to the age of 6 years and they have never seen a car, to pay 50,000 to renew an identity card. Madam Chair, I'm seeing that even right now as we speak, the government of Uganda has used a lot of money to produce identity cards in 2014, in 2014. Up to now, if you go to NIRA, you get numbers and numbers of identity cards which were not picked, were not collected. Now, when we are going to charge these people, even those ones which were free and are all not being collected from 2014, what is going to happen? My fear or my suggestion would be that what is now the role of the government of Uganda to the citizens who pay taxes? Can they have the renewed identity cards as they did without any cost for our people? That is my request. Another concern, Madam Chair.
Information straight away.
Honorable Ramaka, maybe you were late. I want to give you information so that you don't have to labor. The identity card is free. It was free, it's free, it will remain free. But however, since you, Ramaka, is rich, and you want your identity card express, you'll pay 50,000. If you don't want express, you will just receive your identity card like anybody else. So these peasants, my friend here from Nyarushari was talking about, first of all, they don't lose their identity cards. It's you and I who lose identity cards. For them, they have their identity cards because they don't use them regularly. So those peasants will have their identity cards renewed for free. Same system. I also want to take this opportunity to ask about the MDAs. The same MDAs that were used in 2014 are exactly the same MDAs that we're going to use now. My sector of committee means we've got 10 ministries and agencies which have cross-cutting issues in the issues of IDs. Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Finance, Ministry, all these who have Attorney General, etc., NIRA and UBOS and URSB, all these are the agencies who are involved, who are complementing and supplementing each other in the production of these agencies. So I thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Is the recruitment. NIRA had been coming several times here. The level of the employment it had remained at 55 something of the kind. Can they come with this bulk work that we are going to have in 2024? Can we really have the staffing in NIRA to 100% or even to a certain extent? That is what I wanted to say because I didn't hear it anyway. And another issue, Madam Chair, is I want to appreciate NIRA and immigration. I was in South Africa last week, the other week rather. We went to our embassy. We got the staff of NIRA and the staff of immigration. They were registering. So I want to inform my son-in-law here that, that their offices are working in diaspora. They are collecting even their passports and their identity cards, which we hope and we know they are going to continue, especially to those embassies where their staffs are. Madam Chair, I still want to echo more on the issue of the death and birth certificates. In most places, you know, when it is time for death, it must not really be that you should have to die in the hospital. Death can occur anywhere. Even birth can also occur.
That one was raised.
Yes, was raised. But what I wanted to say is, instead of waiting for maybe the reports, they would use the for the death, for the birth, we could use the else workers or the village else workers to bring in the records of the birth. That is what I wanted to add. As my colleague has said, they would use for death information, they would use the LC ones, just that we could get a complete information about that. Then, Madam Chair, we Ugandans, especially me, who neighbor Sudan, most of the Sudanese who come for refuge in Uganda are getting identity card, national identity cards. They are even buying lands. They are even threatening, even grabbing lands in Uganda. What is NIRA going to do? Because somewhere, somehow, you even write a letter, you even try to come out, you get that. They keep on doing the same mistake. So we need really to do something. However, I want to appreciate NIRA for having come with all what they have come with, but the only challenge that we have is Uganda Ministry of Finance, who would not, at the end of the day, facilitate them to the maximum that the poor Ugandans will get the full benefits. I beg to submit.
Having non-Ugandans getting the Ugandan national identity cards and national and passports, by the way. Madam Chair, I think this goes to all Ugandans who are holding responsible offices, because you find there is a requirement for a chairman LC1 to recommend. There is a requirement for the GISO to recommend, and RDC and whoever, they may be the sub-county chief. Madam Chair, where you find a staff of government recommending a non-Ugandan to go and get a service, and then at the end of the day, we blame the responsible departments. So, Madam Chair, to some extent, I think, as we blame these government agencies like NIRA, our officials also should be cautioned, because there is no way a staff of NIRA, a staff of immigration is going to carry out another background check when an LC1 or a GISO has already recommended. Secondly, Madam Chair, I have a worry on this introduction of express payment for the express national IDs. We have had the worst experience in health sector, where the services to the public is free, but if you want a quicker service, then you pay for a consultation fee in a government facility. And at the end of the day, doctors have concentrated on private patients and left out the other poor Ugandans who don't have money. The same may apply here on this express fee that they have introduced to 50,000. We may end up concentrating on those who have money and we end up frustrating the other poor Ugandans who want to access the national IDs. Maybe someone intends to use the ID for a certain service, but because maybe it takes a lot of time, then there is no option other than selling a goat or a sheep to go and get the express national ID. Or go for a loan. PS, on behalf of the minister, I think you need to take note of this. And actually, personally, I would think that you would have, in this mass recruitment or mass registration, mass enrollment, we would first leave out this business of express, be introduced at a later time.
By the way, since it is going to be mass renewal, mass reward, why express, really? And then, before you answer PS, this NIN, I've failed to understand NIN. Recently, we had queries when they were recruiting UPDF, and I'm happy that the deputy CDF is around, that Ugandans who wanted to join UPDF used them not to recognize them. Yes. So, what is the purpose of registering Ugandans and giving them NINs, really? And yet you're saying for accessing services, they need NIN and identity cards.
And the reason is given by a person in your entity changing sex. Biologically, I'm a man, but we have had cases where people come to NIRA to change the names and change sex, that they say, Namanya Rabos, for example, is Rosemary Nyachkongoro and is a woman. And when biologically I'm a man, how are you convinced? Because we have had people petitioning. What is the reason that somebody gives you to be allowed to change sex when actually biologically it is next to impossible? Thank you so much.
Currently, under NIRA, is the operations center, which is the headquarters. Because we are planning all this, but these people are not working. In a month, they may be working 4 days. Because the other day there are functions at Kororo. I don't know how far you have gone with. We'll try to release some funds. How far have you gone to locate NIRA from Kororo airstrip? Honorable Okeyo raised this one, Mr. Permanent Secretary, about the benchmarking of countries. I think we should start with this one before even we can think of other. And we see how these countries have managed to do the identification cards. And the very last one is this day access money beyond 50,000. I don't know whether you are aware, not use mobile money just because they have not updated their faces or their faces in the system. How are you handling?
They are supposed to pay. But the question is
not access money beyond 50,000. If you have not, there's the system. They take your photos when you are
in the bank.
When you are registering the SIM card.
Yes.
When you are registering the SIM card, you go. I think the question like what we are talking about of creating a new or an updated data bank. An updated data bank. The other for the new one, how are you
Matching the two.
How are you matching the two?
The old register and the new
even
register.
up to now, people are lining up there. recently in my constituency, NIRA people were at the sub-counties. People, I don't know what is exactly happening. We are planning for the new one, the old one is.
Honorable members, they need to respond. If it is related, they will really. But my police in this, having the verifying citizenships at the local level. Why is police coming in? Is it in your regulations? Is it in the laws? Irrespective of being verified, I recently fought with some policemen who were involved in some funny, these are people who are peasants, and they were trying to extort money from them, and yet you are bringing them here. Why don't we use the local councils and maybe the DSOs and what?
For emphasis, I wish to repeat what my minister said, because some members were not there. This exercise, whether the new or the new national IDs is free. It will be free, it has been made free. Charges for raising revenue. It is whether the members to approve them or not, but it's just proposal. But for the citizens, it is the exercise is free. The ED need at first address all the technical questions. Then we can come back to clarify the general ones.
Thank you, sir. Honorable
year? And the answer is no. But Cabinet has approved in the Cabinet memo a budget of about 666 billion. We are supposed to submit this to the Ministry of Finance, and together with UBOS and other stakeholders scrutinize it further. So we expect that this will probably come through a supplementary budget. Thank you.
Chair, I want to clarify that this budget is for over a 3-year financial period. The figures he has given. It is running from 2022, 23, 24.
Processes already from this October, and we expect that the new system should be delivered by June next year. Actually, in the roadmap, it's saying August, but
because the financial year ends June, yet you don't have money in this financial year. So where are you going to get? Are you going to get this supplementary budget?
that's what.
But you're not speaking about it. We are going to report on the scope.
If you look at the roadmap, we're supposed to submit this budget to the Ministry of Finance, and we expect that by October, a supplementary budget will be submitted, because we are going to scrutinize and harmonize with other stakeholders, UBOS, for instance, because they also have in plan to carry out census. So we are thinking that maybe some of the activities we have to do it jointly and ensure that there is no repetition. So together with Ministry of Finance, we shall harmonize, and we hope that a supplementary will be submitted for activities that have to be carried out within this financial year.
Honorable Chairperson, the other question which was actually raised was in connection with Murbawa and what plans we have with Murbawa in view of the fact that they are the ones who have been providing services so far. It's true, we've been dealing with Murbawa, which supplied the system. In 2010, to date, government has decided to change vendors. But during the transition period, we shall continue with Murbawa, and the handover process will be rationalized between Murbawa and the new vendors. I hope that has answered the question on Murbawa.
Maybe, Chair, with your permission, I could just, yes, we had areas and we did pay. There is, however, there was a disagreement between the figures verified by the Auditor General, and we are sorting that. If that is sorted, the balance should not exceed 1 billion. Yeah. Yes, funds were provided, like I told you, but the Internal Auditor General's verification varied with the one of the Auditor General. And so we paid comfortably 8 billion. And the variance is about 600 million shillings. So if that is harmonized, then we shall pay. As Nira, actually, accounting officer should have answered this. She was in a very difficult situation, which figure to pay. And so that is being harmonized. If it's harmonized, then we shall pay the balance. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam. Which you asked was related to DIGAR. DIGAR, as far as NIRA is concerned, is with respect to DNA. And that decision, as indicated by the PS in his presentation, will be a matter subject to a task force of the multi-sector committee, which is not yet in place, but which is on the roadmap. Madam Chairperson, we indicated in our presentation that current biometrics all over the world use, among others, the iris and DNA. That does not mean that for a system and for registration, all of them must be used, because we were not using iris, nor were we using DNA, but we had an identification card. However, we have put it in our paper as a technical institution and said, if you gave us DNA, iris, and thumbprints, it would be the best. Nevertheless, that decision will not be made by us. But we have indicated it. Its importance we have articulated.
Can we hear from the minister? Because he's the one who is supposed to establish.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This national ID we have today, actually when by then the minister came to present, it was so rosy and it was something that was going to be marvelous. But in the end, it turned out to be an ordinary card. Today we are insisting that we are going e-national ID. And we have been saying, and you have been presenting here, the ED has been presenting that
Now, the life of the identity card is dictated by emerging technology. Advancements in science demands that globally we adapt. The question of whether we shall capture DNA or not depends on availability of resources and when the girl will be ready. Even if it's not captured concomitantly, it can still be an additional feature. Because all you have to do is just get the DNA and feed it into the data bank. You know, this man is Otafie, this is his DNA, you feed it into the data bank, the data bank will automatically put it on my ID. And would like to capture DNA because of various reasons, you know. There could be an accident where I disappear and somebody has to use my relative's DNA using my identity card. There are many reasons. There are many reasons, and some of them are security features. But I think the long and short of it is that DNA will be a feature of our future national identification card because of technological advancement. Granted, we could look at increasing the life cycle of the identity card. But that one is also dependent on advancement of technology, you know, advancement of technology. Because I envisage a situation in the future when I'm no longer here, where people will travel their national ID, no more passport. You know, just your national ID will be enough. When it has everything that is in the passport, and maybe, probably, there will be a time when people will not use their passports, but just identity card, because I can go and draw my money, which I left in Ugorobi, and get it from California. So if I can get my money from Ugorobi in California, why can't I use this identity card also to travel to the United States? Because once you put it in, all the information is captured, and everyone knows you crossed into California or you have left or not. I thought that was the question that needed explanation. As for the budget, supplementary, as for the budget, we are still, first of all, we are looking at, that's why there is a need for, what benchmarking. We are going to compare different systems of different countries, benefits and shortcomings, benefits, advantages and shortcomings. Then, after this team has done benchmarking, they'll come back and then determine what system is best suited to our situation for two reasons, depending on our past, because we don't have the money the United States has, and then the suitability, the suitability and the affordability of the country, of the system we are going to use. And then, as for the changing of features, we are going to migrate information from the current system, the information we have on the current system, to the new system. We will have to work out how to migrate this information to the new system. So if you want to alter your features, which information is already in the old system, you have to undergo a rigorous process of being assessed by the people who know you best. And the people who know you best are the people on your village.
Does the old system allow migration?
We shall see how to go about it. We shall have to how to go about it. We shall have to how to organize a hybrid. Because you can't lose features of 17 billion. You can't lose that information of 17 million and you start afresh. Then as for the security officers registering death, yes, the security officers can be useful, but the principal pillar in the parish is the parish chief. The principal official in the parish is the parish chief. And the parish chief has an established system of communication. He has these LC 1 chairpersons who feed this information to the parish chief. And our job as a ministry is to inform the public that's important for people to notify death of their relatives. You know, death is not a simple matter. It's not something you can pray about to do. You know, when people die, the first thing they think is grieving and burying. Registering is not their priority. So it's up to this parish chief to go and acquire this information so that we help these people to register death. And that registration is useful when it comes to these matters of determining succession and property and this and that, and you know, it is the death certificate is important for getting yourself admitted to the Administrator General to have your property properly managed. Now, thanks to our level of cultural advancement, the Administrator General has now become more and more important in managing the affairs of departed people. And the complexity of the quarrels, the sharing has also been very advanced. That's why these people should be registered, the relationship registered, and the death of the deceased registered. So that when all of this is, people are asking for probate letters and etc., then the information already in the system will sort them out. So I thought that would explain why registering death as well as birth is important. Then it also gives the planners the equation as to how many people are still remaining to plan for. Because if you are thinking, if you think you have 42 million, and the previous year 1 million died, then you actually have 41. You're planning for people who are not there, you know, who have since died. And then birth, because birth gives you a projection into what you will have in 16 years from today. When you're planning for how many secondary school places you are going to have to build, how many primary school places you are going to build, how many universities, and subsequently, how many jobs should the economy produce in order to employ these people who are entering into the job market every year. That's the importance with the registration. And I appeal to the committee to support our program, albeit with the adjustments here and there, especially in the budget. The budget will be produced by the results of the technology we choose.
Okay. Yeah,
not setting it up, it already exists. All we have to do is just activate it. And some aspects of this sectoral committee are already in place and are working. Because like now, these proposals were brought by URSB, Electoral Commission, NITA, NIRA, and others. Then later on, we shall bring on board those who are still out as time requires. Because each of them has a role to play. You can't bring in local government now when you have not gone to the local governments. But the local government is a critical sector within this program. No, the permanent secretary made a mistake, and you can excuse him.
Okay, you can proceed.
We can apologize for the permanent secretary, and I hope you won't repeat the mistake.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for me have been answered. I will only maybe add a few issues. Like an honorable member said, government has banned travel abroad. How are you going to benchmark? And just for information, so that in the future it does not come up again, NIRA, in its terms of reference, has to work outside Uganda by registering people in the diaspora. So if they stopped us from going outside, people in the diaspora wouldn't be registered. That is the answer. And there was also an issue concerning presence of police, but the minister has answered it very ably. He talked about the pillar of government at parish level being the LC1. The LC1, the parish chief would decide, because we as NIRA are concerned in what is called citizenship verification. He will decide. In neighboring countries like Kenya and Tanzania, they use what they call elders. So if he decided, he would use the elders at the village level to determine citizenship, because I think there is no more competent body than that to determine who is a rightful citizen in the rural areas.
Maybe for instance, when there are issues.
Security. When there is some insecurity, that's when. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Remember, if there were no criminals, there would be no prisoners and police. Police and the judiciary would be redundant. They would be closed. Of course, of the LOC, of the 67,000 LOC one chairpersons we have, you can't miss about 1/10 or 1/9 who are criminals, who are criminal. So the important thing is for us to have recourse to the law, because the Constitution says anybody who was here before 1926 is an indigenous person. Everybody who was here before 1926 is an indigenous person. In fact, there has been a debate about the Rohana, the Gujarati, and the Ismailia, because these were here in 1800. So are they indigenous? And the law is the law, so we have to treat them as indigenous persons because they were here before the cut-off point of 1926. Now, there is a problem with these border communities. When you go to Ngomorobo, you see, first of all, when the borders were drawn, the borders were irrational. The colonial borders were inherited by irrational. So irrational that you had the late Agura Awori, a minister in Uganda, his brother Modi Awori, vice president of Kenya. They are same father, same mother. One is a Kenyan, one is a Ugandan. That's not rational. That's not rational. You go to Ngomorobo, this is the border with it. Now, how do you tell the difference between a Sudanese Acholi and a Ugandan Acholi? They all speak the same language, they all look the same, and they move across the border. There is a family at Katuna. Yeah, there is a family at Katuna where a man has two wives. One is in Rwanda, the other one is in Uganda, and the plantation goes through a stream. The other wife is the other side, and the other wife this time is. Now, what are the children? Which identity card? You know? Or the Wanande, the Wakonjo. The Wanande and the Wakonjo. Majority of these Wakonjo people of ours are located in the Congo. When I was in the Congo, there is a place called Rwambara. Rwambara in the Congo, they speak better Runyangore than I do. So when these fellows come, there is an honorable member of parliament who was chosen for being a Congolese. I hope So, what do you remember? These borders of ours were irrational. When they were determined, nobody took consideration into consideration the interests of the people of Africa. People were carving up Africa for purposes of exploitation. The mistake we've made in our generation is to respect those borders without consideration. Whereas we should have sat down and rationalized Africa. We've carried on as if nothing happened, and we are bearing the consequences. That's why we are pushing for unity. Unite the East Africans so that we can get as much linguistical and cultural identity in one entity as possible. Otherwise, now when you see a Munyarwanda of Rwanda and a Munyarwanda of Chisoro, how can you tell the difference? Chisoro did not come into Uganda until 1910. These were from the Queen Razia. They came in 1910. And they became Ugandans in 1910. Now, there is a fusion between Rwanda and Uganda. So the Muntus, Muchamuntu, is a Ugandan of Rwanda's origin, whose birth and what have always been in Uganda. He has never been in Munyarwanda, but he's Rwanda's origin. I mean, he's Rwanda's origin. He's a Ugandan. Quite a number of these fellows in Kayonza, in these areas of Tungaku, Arushe, you know. So some of these things can best be determined by the LOCs. Of course, there will be corruption here and there, but then the best would be to get and we shall insist that the recommendation should be made by many more than one person at the village, preferably the committee. You can't bribe the whole committee. If you can bribe the whole committee, then you deserve being a Ugandan. It means you have the resources. It means you have the resources to contribute to national development. Secondly, you said you made an allusion to people getting Ugandan citizenship easily. Be careful, you people. When you get somebody, I impress you people. They will use newspapers. You don't say this. Just turn off your cameras. Turn off your cameras. I don't want you to rank. When you get somebody,
We are getting information as a community.
when you get
rocket science. come here, see his parents, the first to come with a ranker. The Secret Service, this is Chinese, the man, the Chinese has money. They has money. And get on people not complain. Don't make that mistake. Somebody, a cardiothoracic surgery will never train. You know, how many people have in if training a cardiothoracic surgeon is very costly, and brain surgeons, it does not produce very belongs to the slaughterhouse. Citizenship should be yes, because you are born here, but also you can. Now you can put on
I was coming there, Madam Chair, because we, as much as we appreciate the was actually moving to propose that we now have gotten a bit of the information we want to get. And I was proposing that we proceed with our use of business. We can go and do other issues under other issues, Madam Chair.
What also came up? Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Now, I will put it to the relevant technical people to answer why our national IDs expire. Please go ahead. Let's move ahead and go to maybe legal. You could take us through why change of particulars. What are the controls in place, and why? What do they mean? That one.
Yes, Honorable Minister and Honorable Chair. Change of particulars, first of all, I would like to clarify that for changes of particulars where the error is by NERA, we don't charge any fees. And we're able to see that because the application form that the applicant signs is scanned into the system. So where the error is occasioned by NERA, there's no fee levied on the applicant. Now, for those particular changes, I think the members of parliament raised the change of age. Change of age because of the nature of the sensitivity and the fact that it's susceptible to fraud. Currently, there is a very rigorous process for the change of age. We require a number of documentation, including academic documents, if the person has academic documents. We require the birth certificate, baptism certificate, a whole range of documentation. And where even the change is for a longer period of time, we require that we have CID investigators that are attached to us to do further investigations. So change of age has a more rigorous process and requirements to ensure that those people who are changing age are not doing it for the wrong purposes. So no more corrections, no more other changes. The requirements are also laid out. Some of the requirements are low, some of them are administration requirements. But when it comes to changes of age, we have a very rigorous procedure to avoid people who are trying to be fraudulent in their changes.
The age analysis machine, as requested by DIGAR, will assist you in determining the age of people who are really changing.
Yes, definitely, the more you use science, the better, because science gives you better results. But of course, we know that there's a limitation. Some of these are estimations still, but definitely it will go a long way in supporting the process of the change of age to give us a good idea of at least the approximate age that an applicant has or belongs to.
So that one with the one of changing sex.
So of course, when it comes to change of, well, first of all, an applicant provides information, provide whether you're male or female. So you don't have to tell us whether you're male or female. So the first application is based on the information that you provide to us. Now, we don't have, the current legal framework does not provide for change in sex. However, the law recognizes some medical anomalies, persons who are born with those medical anomalies, and that the law provides for how that change can be done. That includes the provision of medical documents. So once the medical doctors have certified that this person has a medical condition, that perhaps at birth the age was indicated and they have had to go through a medical procedure that now requires that change, we then recognize those support documents and enable that change. But in terms of change as a result of choice, the current legal framework does not provide for that. Yes, where there's an, honorable members, where there's an error in terms of the gender that we have indicated, we provide for that correction. Where it's just an error, we provide for the correction.
Now this question of change of sex has a lot of issues. The current law does not allow it, but the Constitution. I don't want to go into that interpretation, but sooner or later, the Parliament will have to think about it. Because if I voluntarily change my sex, who are you, government, to tell me that I'm not what I am? Yes, I've voluntarily changed. You can't force me to be not what I am not. But that's not for today. That's not for today. So because you see, sometimes we also have to exercise limited government. The privacy of individuals has to be respected. Well, I don't want to go into this because it will cause controversy, but.
But Mr. Matters, you are pointing that there is already information that NIRA has already registered people who have changed sex. And what if someone now comes up to take NIRA? If you're saying that there's no, how do you handle that? Yes. Order.
Without just, I'm called so and so, I'm a male. How do you ascertain? How do you tell that this person is a male or is a female? By having beards, having, breasts. How do you tell exactly before you register, before you issue out a card, not to give a room or a chance for somebody to register himself as a female, well knowing that yet this person is a male and tomorrow he wants to change? How do you do it to determine that this person is a female or a male?
Women who have no breasts, and there are men who have no beards. And these days we all put on trousers. Now, how are you going to determine? Are you going to examine? Are you going to examine the other? Are you going to examine the?
Yes. You go and examine the person. You examine the person. Yes. Yes. Because now we have understood that people have some, hidden agendas. He registered himself as a male when actually the person is the other sex. So he has some, reasonable excuses. So we wanted you to have a certain place where you can take that person, they examine, they understand, and you exactly tell that this person is of this sex.
I think that is an area that you should explore as NIRA, particularly at the time of registration, now that we are coming up with new features of the new identity card, so that we don't have challenges.
A very, very sensitive matter. And by the look of things, we are going to miss the gist of what we are discussing here. Like you said, you were asking, telling us that there are some members, reports have it that there are some members who have already been registered by NIRA. I dearly think it is at the time of entering their particulars that maybe the enrollment officer could have erred and written, captured the wrong details. So, but if we I believe these are also very responsible Ugandans. I believe they also want to have a secure country. I have seen this during mass enrollment in 2014, whereby you go declare that you are a male, but the enrollment officer at the time of capturing your biodata ticks a provision of female. But this was a result of NIRA employing people who are not qualified for the job. Perhaps they had their relatives who were pressuring them to get these jobs. It is my clarion call that as we move into implementing the upcoming exercise, that we critically look at the human resource we employ for this sensitive exercise. Because whatever we are talking about is as a result of people capturing wrong data. And with the computer, cabbage in, cabbage out. So if you have given me wrong input from the enrollment location, you expect the person who is going to print also have the same, because you don't have the latitude to go and alter what you have already captured. It still, Madam Chair, comes to the question of those tribunals instituted to do the verification. It is now those people who know those people, because those are people who are supposed to be the locals of that area, who know that this is Wakoli, son of so and so, and he has
taken. But there are two issues.
Yes.
There is one where you want to become a man, and I register as male. But there is also that one where they miss the right biodata.
Yes.
So
and I'm submitting towards this is a very special case. But here we are making it look like these are just very few scenarios. We will not have about 1 million people coming to do the same. That is why I'm saying we might now be deviating from what we are discussing by only discussing. These are very rare situations, I guess. That's what I wanted to submit, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I thank you.
E.D.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is my very last one. As per the objectives 1, 2, 3, which were listed by PS, under 5.1.6, there is this thing which they have indicated there, that this will include identification of all citizens and legal residents, aliens for national security, and socio-economic development, traceability of persons for national security. Yes, can you assist us and confirm to us whether this data going to be collected is now going to be connected to the national surveillance system cameras to monitor? This is something I can see here as the Chinese are doing it. Are you importing that technology here? Because when you talk about the traceability of persons for national security, kindly assist me to explain more about that. That are they going to, this data which you are going to collect, is it going to be linked to the national surveillance system, the cameras across the country, so that I can be traced?
Honorable Shadow Minister, only the guilty run away from the police.
I only need your explanation, Honorable Minister.
Only the guilty run away from the police.
Only confirm that yes, we are going to link it.
So what's wrong with that?
I'm just inquiring.
No, what's wrong with that? There is nothing wrong.
I'm saying, is it true that you are going to connect it?
Let's deal with that security.
Honorable members, honorable members, you are a citizen of Uganda, and according to the law, every citizenship is registered. So the rest, we leave them to security. We leave the issues of the generals to the generals. But like he said, definitely you are as a Ugandan, you are supposed to be identified. Honorable Chiwanuka, the minister order. As a Ugandan, in order to be identified, you must have an identity card. Definitely, if you expect people to protect, you are supposed to protect the citizens of the country.
Madam Chairperson, don't labor very far. Because when you do something, right now, when you do something in town, the cameras capture you. The cameras capture you and will see your face. So what other flexibility do you want? Don't commit crime, then we shall not follow you.
Honorable Minister, that your fellow shadow minister is in support of the DNA. And he really supported it when we were supporting their budget. In order to fight criminality in this country, he said, yes, we must have these features on the identity card. So that is part of the security that they're talking about. Okay, E.D.
By and large, we have answered all of the technical questions. The only one which I thought I should answer the last one is about using the structures of internal security organization. They talked about the VISOs, PISOs, FISOs. I happen to know, and this is a fact, that these could be there. You could hear about a FISO. You could hear about FISO is family, but these are not government structures. These are agents. Actually, in ISO, the government structures end at GISO. And GISO is most recent. By the time we started the national ID, it was the DISO. And the reason we go only to GISO is that we need a stamp. And this stamp, if they are not good stamps which can't be forged easily, tomorrow we will have citizenship verification which is backed by wrong stamps. So that is why we end up at GISO. FISO and the rest. Those ones, honorable members, I will tell you because I originated that structure when I was in ISO. Those are agents. Their role is that if I am a GISO, I will have people to use up to the grassroots level. So when I'm reporting to my next supervisor, I will say, my FISO, that is a member who is doing intelligence in the family, has given me this report.
Have you heard you have a FISO? Finally, ED, the role of NIN, the NIN.
The NIN.
NIN vis-a-vis ID, because...
Please, a technical person, explain this.
So under the Registration of Persons Act, following the successful registration of an applicant, they're supposed to be identified as a citizen, supposed to be assigned a national identification number. So an applicant or persons who present a national identification number or card should be able to acquire a service. So they should not be denied just because they have a NIN and not a national ID card. Because the NIN is the one which identifies them. The card just has the evidence of the NIN, but actually they should use the NIN.
You are the one who asked. I want to understand at what stage do you generate the NIN number? Because I know there is a copy of an application form, and after registering, I see your enrollment officers write a number at the extreme right end of the application form. Do I now take it that that application form is the NIN number, or that one is used to generate a NIN? And in the event that I have not received the NIN number, is there any provision that I can use the application number to get a service?
See, the NIN number is generated by following, your district has a code, your county has a code, your sub-county has a code, your village has a code, your parish has a code, your village has a code. You as a citizen in that village will get a number. The series of these codes and your personal number will generate your NIN number, National Identification Number. So it's the registering officer who assigns you a number, because you can't be more than 500 in a village. Because it's, except when you are unhappy, you can't be tangled doing.
Then this one comes to your PR. I think you should intensify on sensitizing citizens about the use of NIN. That NIN number, including these big organizations that deny people services. Yes.
The honorable members, identification of a person is not the plastic card which you get. The plastic card is a representation of your national identification number. And your national identification number is arrived at after a process and it is generated by the system. That number will be yours and forever, even when you are dead. It cannot be replicated. So it is the name which is you. Otherwise, the card is a paper representation of the name.
Okay, he has responded. No, UPDF is this side, and he's representing UPDF in this committee. Yes, Honorable, you are the last one.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable Minister. My apologies for coming late, so I don't know whether I've been covered. My name is Opolot Simon Peter Kwalenga. I'm the guardian of Kayum County, representing those very people. Here in Parliament, I'm a member of this committee. Now, I wanted just to find from the management of NIRA and the ministry, how prepared are they to emerge with the mother ministry? Because last time when we met the president, he hinted on that fact that they are going to emerge agencies. Cabinet has already, NIRA is one of those agencies. So what plans do they have in place, especially based on the fact that some staff of NIRA, their contracts may be due soon to expire?
Madam Chairperson, as far as I'm concerned, I don't have that information. NIRA remains.
But sir, you're a member of caucus, and I guess you must have...
It can, yeah, I'm also a member of cabinet.
So you have never discussed that?
No, NIRA remains. There could be additions and subtractions, but NIRA will remain. So not merging with anybody. There will be an adjustment. NIRA will remain.
Actually, NIRA is one of the entities that makes money, so we are looking at agencies that are making money.
No, but Madam Chair, you are trying to feign ignorance on this matter, when really the presentation of the Minister of Public Service indicated that NIRA is going to be merged to the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and that it will take 5 years for that process to be completed. And so now I'm wondering the fate of staff.
Honorable member.
The fate of staff whose contracts are going to expire.
Honorable member, NIRA is already an agency of Ministry of Internal Affairs. NIRA is in Internal Affairs right now.
I know that.
If the identity NIRA is removed, the staff will not be changed, because the functionality of that staff will remain. The functions they are doing will remain. We shall do adjustment. When it becomes part and parcel of the ministry, we shall only do adjustment, like removing the board and a few other expensive attachments. But NIRA structurally and intrinsically will not change. It will just become part of NIRA will remain as a department.
Exactly, that's what I wanted to know.
Wait a minute, it will remain as a department of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, like the police is, like the prisons is, like the GA is. You know, it will be part of Internal Affairs. It will not structurally change. If anything, we shall make it better. You know that certain functions performed by URSB now are going to be transferred to NIRA. So, and the difference between NIRA and URSB will be that NIRA will register physical persons, whereas URSB registers legal persons.
Madam Chair, just the last one.
Yes.
I really thank the minister, because at least he has hinted on that. Because why I'm saying the fate of some of the staff there, the president clearly indicated that we shall face off the position of a director in all government ministries. So UNIRA has got several directors. That's why I'm asking this question.
But we shall baptize them commissioners. So the directors will have their salaries personal holder. When they come to the ministry, they will become commissioners instead of directors. What is in a name? For as long as you perform the function, and for as long as you know, because like for instance, take me, I am RO014 retired Major General Kiwedde. Whether I'm wearing a suit or uniform, I still remain a soldier. So your directors will be directors, even if you call them captains, even if you call them parish chiefs. for as long as they are performing the function of a director, whether you call them parish chiefs, they will do the job of director. And their salaries will be personal holder. Their salaries, they will not get any, excuse me, now we are talking. They will not, I don't know, these fellows of Kanyum. They will not be disadvantaged in terms of personal benefits and emoluments. We are only going to change the nomenclature.
But Honorable Minister, we don't want to discuss that one in detail, but definitely it has some issues in a way that you cannot have a department within the ministry that is that has a variance in terms of their salaries compared to others. So somehow, somewhere, we don't want to discuss these ones. We still have our caucus meeting. That's where we shall discuss all those.
In civil service, you can come in and you are directors. If we bring General Weru, let me give you an example, that when you bring General Weru and you appoint him Commissioner for Immigration, he will migrate with the same salary he's been receiving in the army. The civil service is called personal holder. You find this man is earning 28 million, the other, his colleagues are earning 14. Because he comes because he's wanted. You recruit him because of his expertise and because he's wanted. For instance, take the pilots. The pilots at the Soroti Flying School. They earn much more money than the permanent secretaries. Why? Because we need them. We need them. If you say, I'm not going to pay you this, they just go to other airlines. You need them, they don't need you. So you have to pay them. So if you are going to bring general, or this general who is now in the Ministry of Internal Affairs, he is paid as per the salary he was receiving. He's not an ordinary permanent secretary. Because you needed him, you acquired his service, you can't disadvantage him or her because you are the one who has brought him because of the change. That's civil service protection. So don't worry about your friends who are in the NIRA. we are not going to disadvantage them. And if there are any directors in NIRA who've been lobbying Parliament, stop it. You lobby me, I'll do it for you. Don't disturb members of Parliament.
The queries? Okay.
Now, procurement, honorable members of Parliament, this question of procurement, you can't ask the permanent secretary or me. Because the law Parliament made, you people parliamentarians made, divests the responsibility of procurement from the minister and the permanent secretary. So you can't ask the permanent secretary to interfere where the law prohibits him or her. So procurement is I think we may have to think about it again. Because a procurement process goes on without the intervention of the permanent secretary. His intervention is illegal and could spoil the procurement. So you can't ask the permanent secretary what happened. Yes, I'm supervising officer, but where the law says I may not interfere. No, I can't be responsible. You can't be responsible because the law, the procurement law, the PPDA law bars the politicians and the permanent secretaries from interfering. So, yeah.
Okay. So, Honorable Minister, your team, for your interaction.
Minister Fababo Tuliwano.
I've been talking for free. This time I need pay and upfront.
We shall pay you.
We are going to give you just 50.
You want to interview me?
Yes.
I'm not looking for a job.
No. This is not a job interview. This is not a job interview.
What is it about?
It is a news interview.
A news interview?
Yes.
Do I work for television?
No. We are the ones who work for the television.
Oh, you're so?
You're a source.
I'm a source.
Hey.
And how much do you pay? There's nothing for nothing.
We don't pay for.
Now, what's your question? I want to go away.
Okay.
Understand the nature of
Endaga muntu ze mugendo lwaki mujjako abantu sente.
I'll first talk in English.
Okay.
I went to school.
About this exercise you're embarking on, why are you charging people for replacing?
We are not charging people for replacing their IDs. A national ID is free. We are only saying if you want specialized service like Express, you will have to pay 50,000 and you register yourself on your own computer, you read online. So all those who can afford to pay and do it online will pay 50,000 to access the system and they will get their national IDs Express. But as for the ordinary people, it will be exactly like it was done before. People will register or change their card for free.
There's a concern from members that sometimes mistakes are made by officials from NIRA on the identities, on the particulars of Ugandans, and now they are going to be charged 200,000 shillings.
No, you are not going to be charged for a mistake that is done by NIRA. Because when a registration is generated, the information captured on the form is also captured by the system. So if the system discovers that the mistake was done in-house, you will not be charged. You already be charged for mistakes you yourself made.
Okay. Lastly, you're involving security agencies, police and verification. What is the relevance of this?
National ID is a security element. And where there is a security element, security organs should be involved. That's why the police and the intelligence and other security agencies will be involved in the identification of citizens. Yeah.
But what is this DNA?
DNA. You have it with you. You have a DNA and we want to know what is your DNA, where you originated from. If there is a dispute that you are a Zimbabwean and you say I'm a Ugandan, don't you think your DNA will solve the problem? That's a different matter altogether. You know, did you know that it was going to rain today? It has rained, so you accept the rain. We are going to do DNA, whether we have the means and the capacity to do it now or not. That's immaterial. The desired end state is that we should capture every citizen's DNA.
Honorable, there's a concern that the charge for 200,000 for replacing an ID is too much.
If you think it's too much, don't lose your ID. If you think it's too much, then don't lose your ID. The best way to avoid that 200,000 is not to lose your ID.
How much money do you want for this project?
No, we are still compiling. It will be about 600 billion plus or minus 50 or something like that. But because we are still assessing the technology we are going to use, the new technology we are going to use. And you see, creating this DNA, these national identity cards, depends on the kind of technology we shall choose. What do we want? Because we are now looking at an EID. So the technology we've been using is not adaptable to creating an EID.
You know, Muruganda kati lwaki abantu Olungereza lutuweddeko.
Abeka kuto nze sagala kugenda kakuto ngenda kola iki.
Olungereza lutuweddeko kati Muruganda kati.
Oluganda muteeka okusasula. Tetuyinza kubajjako sente okureplacinga kaada. Bw'obanga kaada wagisuula kubanga tetwagala abantu basuule kaada zaabwe
kyetuba tukusaba sente olyoke kaada yo oleme kugidiibuuda kugitwala ng'ekitagasa omanyi nti bw'ogisuula ogenda kusasula ki sente nyingi. Kino kyakugaana abantu okusuula ki kaada zaabwe si lwakubanga twagala kufuna sente, kyakugaana abantu okulagajanira kaada zaabwe. Ekyokubiri, zino emitwalo 5 gye tusaba, eyo emitwalo 5 tugisaba abo abaagala kukyusa kaada zaabwe ku kompyuta, abaagala kuzifuna mangu. Tutaddewo sisitimu egamba nti osobola okwefunira kaada yo online. So online si buli muntu yenna asobola kugenda ki online, naye abo abasobola balina sente zaabwe lwaki obatawaanya basimbe ennyiriri kabakole ekintu kya akantu kaabwe bakafune online basasule emitwalo 5 bagende mu maaso. Naye buli owa bulijjo, omuntu owa bulijjo ow'omukyalo eyo kanaka kabulasoke kakuuto Ruhinda tujja kugendayo tumuwandiike tumukyusize kaada ye tumugyeko kaada enkadde tumuwe kaada empya.
Waliwo ensonga ya details okubanga ziwandiikiddwa obubi abanira ate ne musaba abantu
abanira bwe wanga bakoze ensobi yaabwe tebagisasuliza. Tusasuliza ensobi gye wakola nga kinoomu. Ate ekyo nakyo tukikola lwakubanga tetwagala abantu bakole ensobi mu registration. Waliwo bakola ensobi nga mu bugenderevu, waliwo bakola ensobi nga bakigenderedde.
Lwaki muteekamu security wano okukola ebintu?
Security abazzi b'emisango bwe badduka poliisi, lwaki security tojagala mu bintu bino? Aba security gye tulina ya South Africa oba ya Algeria ya Uganda. Enki? Tomunina DNA. Tukusaba kyotalina. Tukusaba DNA kubanga ogirina. Tujagala.
Mulina obusobozi. Mulina obusobozi.
Ebyo tebikukwatako.
Naye ino omugaso.
Ino omugaso. Ogirina. Wobanga tolina mugaso lwaki ogyetika.
Mulyazo kitekwataganirawo.
Ebyo mbindekere. Kale mwebale muno.
Jeno ogenze otya?
Omanyi abanira babadde bateesa nti baagala omuntu bw'aba asudde kaadi ye oba nga ayagala kukola renewal nti omuntu bamuggyeko emitwalo 2. Naye tubabuuziza nti ekibalo kyula bagijjawa ate nga tebakizemu bulungi kubanga bw'olaba percent eyo more than 100% increment kuva ku mitwalo 5 kwa 2 nyingi nnyo. Abantu baba basuubira balaba Abannayuganda wano we bakolera, naye genda eyo mu kyalo enyingiza ntono y'abantu bajjaja abo abalina identity cards nga zibuze oba abavubuka batalina mirimo nga identity cards zaabwe zibuze. Okusasula emitwalo 2 nyingi nnyo, naye ekyali proposal ffe nga kakiiko ndowooza zikyali waggulu. Tetuza kujikiriza kubanga Omunnayuganda kumunyigiriza nnyo kutuuka awo nsobola tekijja kumuyamba. Ate ejjukira nti gavumenti egamba nti eyagala kuwa abantu esente za parish development model kuva abantu bayingire mu sente mu money economy tebanaba kuziyingira. Kati obasaba otya emitwalo 2 nga identity card agisude bagimubyeko oba bajokeza mu nyumba oba efunye ebizubi byonna. Kati n'olwekyo ffe nga kakiiko tetuli basanyufu kwezo sente ze basuubiza abantu okusasula oba osudde kaadi yo. Sirwogedde. I think NIRA is exaggerating because when you say that if you lose your card, you should pay 200,000 shillings. From 50,000, it's a lot. You look at the peasants, look at the people that need those services. And remember, identity card is needed everywhere. Whether you are going to the bank, to the hospital, everywhere you need an identity card. Look at those unemployed youth that don't have access to income. Where are they going to get 200,000 shillings to replace an identity card? I think they are thinking outside of the reality, and as a committee, we think that 200,000 is a lot, and many Ugandans cannot afford to pay the replacement of the identity card from 50 to 200,000.
replacement of a lost ID or for changes in particulars of an individual. Do you think this fee is justified?
The fee, according to me, is not justifiable at all, because this exercise is already being sponsored by a Ugandan who is a taxpayer. If you recall very well, when we rolled out the mass exercise in 2014, we never came up to tell Ugandans that you are supposed to pay for this exercise, because in this case, a Ugandan has a duty of paying a tax and he's entitled to getting a service. And in this case, I do not know where the planners and where those guys who are proposing for this money are coming from, because from 50 to 200, there is no justification at all. You should tell us that we are moving from 50 because we feel when we add 150, a Ugandan going to get an ID is going to benefit out having this, because if I add on an extra, it implies that this ID is also going to add something significant or economically in my pocket. So I don't think whether there is a justification. I think this was an error, and we are going as a committee, we are not going to allow this. In any case, we are proposing that there should not be even a single charge levied against a Ugandan for getting an ID, because he pays a tax and he is entitled to getting a service. So ideally we are saying, we have also seen them proposing that they should be also the so-called express ID for those who fall in the category of VIP. But we are saying that no, look here, if you introduce such, is going to now create a fertile ground for even bribes and corruption for the officers implementing this same exercise. So we are saying that this should not even surface anywhere, because we have seen it with the passports. Passports, when you go to a section of people who are applying for express, it has now seized the people who apply for ordinary are not getting the services they're supposed to get, because the officers of immigration are only skewed to getting money in the guise of having an express, but at the end of it, even the express passport, you don't get it at the time they tell you that you are going to get it. So we are saying as a committee that this should not even come up by the officers of the NIRA. It should be free as it was in 2014. Nze ndooza ekyo si kya bwenkanya, kubanga wandibadde ogamba nti twongeddeko emitwalo 15 lwakuba nti ID eno bw'ona asasula emitwalo 2, omunnayuganda agenda okufuna ID eyo, naye agenda afunamu amagoba okukozesa ID eyo. Naye kati siraba lwaki oyongezako already n'abantu ababadde basasula emitwalo 5 tebali kusobola. Kati tewaliyo ekintu ekirikiri okulaba nti bw'oyongerako emitwalo 15 omunnayuganda agenda kanyulwamu. Nze ngamba ekyo abakirowoozaako ffe nga komiti tetugenda kukkiriza, kubanga already abantu tebalina sente. So singa ogamba nti twongeddeko 15 omunnayuganda agenda akozesa ID eno, akole amagoba mu ID eno, ekyo kisobola okubeera understood. Naye nze ekyo ndaba nti tekigenda akola. Nga walaba mbulira bateeseemu n'ogamba nti waliyo kategori y'okufuna ID mangu si mu bwangu. Ekyo kigenda okuleetera abantu bano ba enrollment officers ne officials at NIRA okubeera nga batandika okusabiriza ssente mu bantu, balemerera okukola ku muntu wa bulijjo ono atalina ssente, batunula oli ali kuleeta ki essente. Ekyo ndowooza kigenda ku disadvantage nga munnayuganda. Ffe nga komiti ekyo tetugenda kikkiriza, tugenda agamba nti basigale ku eri, kubanga omunnayuganda asasula omusolo asobole okufuna services ezifaanana bwe ziti. So nze ng'omubaka w'e Butiiru ngamba ekyo si kya bwenkanya, abantu baffe balina okufuna ID abwereere lwakuba basasula emisolo.
Thank you. N'okufuna ebikwata ku bantu bebalindaga muntu empya.
Yes, by law, nti ebbanga bwe liggwako zino endagamuntu ziggwako. Ffe newankubadde tubadde tulina endowooza nti wandibaddewo enkola, kubanga oli munnaggwanga tekiina kkomo, twandibadde ne ID nga teggwako. Naye olw'okuba esibayiro ate ensonga ezimu nti olw'okuba tukyuka mu myaka 10 osanga nga bw'obadde ofaanana okyuse. Newankubadde ebirimu ebizibu kyekyemitwalo nga 2 okulaba ng'omuntu waba asudde kaadi oba ebuze ng'ogenda kusasula emitwalo 2 okuwa empya. Mu Uganda bangi abatasobola kusasula emitwalo 2. Kitegeeza ogenda okuteekawo kirasi y'abantu abagenda kubeera mu Uganda nga tebalina ID. Lwekyo twandisabye ssente ezo ne bwe kandibadde nga kafe naye nga katono, kyandisigadde ku mitwalo 5 oba n'okuzigirawo ddala, kubanga buli munnayuganda asasula musolo, buli munnayuganda teri atasasula musolo. So twandisabye n'endagamuntu nga bw'eri ey'obwereere, era ne replacement yandibadde ya bwereere kubanga abantu batambula n'akozesa ssente nyingi okutambulako kane kumalako ssente ate at the end ne bakusaba egyo emitwalo 2 ojja kusanga nga abantu abasinga bagenda zivaako. The 200,000, I think it's going to create a class of the people in the country to stay without national IDs because it is very expensive. 200,000 is not affordable by every Ugandan. And in most cases, replacement is a process. They walk and walk until they walk no more. And in fact, they're using a lot of money. And if you add the 200,000, it means these people are going to leave the replacement and stay without this ID. Yet, it is a requirement. Now you'll be going to the bank, they need this ID. You go to every office, they need this ID. We suggest as a committee that this suggestion be dropped.
Kakati ekintu ekyokusasula sente nyingi ez'okusasula emitwalo 2 banayitukirize nti eggwanga kati tetulina sente buli omwaka abalulwe kati omuntu bw'omugamba asasula emitwalo 2 olw'okuba identity card yabula nga kuno ababbi abajjudde wano banyakula obusawo bw'abantu buli lunaku ng'omuntu si yayina security mu aba gavumenti mwe muyina security okulaba nti national abamu zibula olw'obulagajafu bwa gavumenti obutabaawo security obutabaawo mirimu kati omwana atambula ku street akasawo ne bakatwala bakamubyeko si bulagajavu bwe naye olw'okuba embeera eriwo kati ate omugamba bamubyeko sente esawo yebagitutte ate omwagaza okusasula mitwalo 2 n'olwekyo ekintu ekirowooza tekiri fair tujja kukitunulamu nga bakireete ku parliament nkukakasa ekintu ekyo tetujja kikiriza. Ekyokubiri abantu omuntu endagamuntu eyinza okubula olwo abamuzigira mu muliro amayumba y'omu byalo gajja eyo munoosa abasula mu busiisira ennyumba zijja enkya n'eggulu kati identity card ye bw'eba yajja n'omugamba atakomewo olw'okuluzinga ebintu bye bifudde ataddemu asasula emitwalo 2 egy'okuzaawo national ID ffe tulowooza nti kyabwenkanya. Gavumenti yandibadde eteekawo embeera enyangu eyanguyira abantu ng'ekimanyi ku kiseera kyo abantu tebalina sente era okuteekako embeera ebajjamu sente tekiba kyabwenkanya. Enekya DNA era kyekimu tukyogeddeko bagenda ebyawano manyi bizibu omuntu bw'aba asobola kugenda mu nnira ne bamukkiriza okukyusa sex ekikula akyusa abadde mukazi bamuwe identity card kati mukazi tunakakasa tutya bwe tunaabawa endaga butonde yaffe aba DNA bagenda gikuuma ogenda kusanga endaga butonde yange ng'omuntu omulala yagiina kati ekyo kijja tutabula ne mu kuzaala abaana bano ate kati tubadde twagala okutebenkereza amaka kati ate mu DNA mwe mugenda okuva obuzibu nti olw'okuba aba nira tebabeera serious mu bintu bino bye bakola n'olwekyo ne security yawano okubanga ekintu ekiterese nga kyekyo kyeyina okukola kubanga muli mu loopholes naddala eyo kyenjogedde eky'omuntu omukkiriza okukyusa ekikula akyuse sex ng'abadde musajja ate national ID authority nemukkiriza atakyuse ekitayina ne legal backup wano mu Uganda. We have been discussing about some people they use their national identity cards not because they are negligence but because of the security situation and the economy which is hitting hard. Somebody is moving on the street and has a bag that contains a national ID. It is taken by thieves. And that person in this era where money is becoming kamane and you are telling him or her to pay 200,000, we think it is unfair, it is being inconsiderate, and we shall come to the floor of parliament. I don't think it will be accepted by members of parliament, the floor, that people are extremely poor and then you charge them on the national IDs which have been lost. So we shall look into that issue and we shall discuss more about it. The issue of DNA, you see, we have had a problem with the National Identification Authority. They are being seriousness. Now, with the DNA which they are going to store, we are still in doubt whether these people and the country that will restore the database of Uganda, whether these people will not misuse the DNA to do all other dubious actions which we have seen. We have seen people applying to change sex, and the DNA has given them, the National Identification Authority has given them a green light. How possible is it somebody can be able to change sex? Somebody is a man and applies to be a woman, and the National Identification Authority allows him to do that. So we are still suspicious, and we shall have a comprehensive discussion with the entity to see their capacity of handling the data of Ugandans, and it is not misused to cause other dubious actions in Uganda.
bakyusa amannya abo bebakwatako sente zino bazibajjeko.
Okusookera ddala njagala okutegeeza bannansi nti nga NIRA bwegenda mu enrollment empya ensonga gye balina okutegeera minisita gyagezezaako okukuba amakoona naye gye tuzudde mu biwandiiko bye baleese nti bye bagenda okubajjako byonna bagenda kubirinkinga ku the national surveillance system nga we bakulaba wonna we bakulabye kamera wekulaba yonna bamanya nti oyo gundi abeera egundi ffenno nga bannabyabufuzi abatera okubeera mu kwekalakaasa ekyo kyetukanze nti bagenda ku discouraging abantu bangi okuva mu activism ensonga emu. Ensonga y'okubiri bwe tubabuuzizza ku ssente kubanga egenda kubeera mu mass registration ssente ez'okusasula mbu omuntu bamwanguyirizeeko $5,500 tukanga tugenda mu mass registration tulowooza nti no tekyetaagisa kubanga centers cameras zigenda kubanga ziri buli wamu kyetulowozezza nti no tekyetaagisa ensonga y'okugamba nti omuntu yeetaaga okumuwandiisa mu bwangu yandibadde evaawo. Ensonga ey'okubiri nti omuntu bw'abanga alina information gy'abawadde nga nkyamu nga si NIRA yegikoze omuntu oyo yeetaaga okusasula ssente yeerabira omwaka gwe bamuzaaliramu kati bw'agujjukidde n'akasala wajja akyuse kati okuretrievinga fayiro eyo okuddamu okufiringa foomu endala bakusasuza $20,000 mpozi n'omuntu abeera asudde ndagamuntu ye oba nga wagibuza okuddamu okufuna endala bakwetagisako $20,000 tulowoozezza nti no ssente ezo nnyingi zeetaaga zibeere revised era batubulire ya district kimwe bayita okubeera nga bazituukako ekitali ekyo tukiwakanyizza era twagala ssente ezo zibeere revised. Ndagabutonde batugambye nti bannasalawo exactly kubanga twalirizinga dda ssente wano ne tuziwa laabu y'ewandegeya ng'egenda kukaringa on out process ku bannayuganda bonna okubajjako ndagabutonde tubeere ne data bank eyandagabutonde nga gavumenti buli munnayuganda egirina kati bazze wano nga batugamba mu process ya NIRA ne ssente zeyeetaaga era yeetaaga ndagabutonde kyetulowooza nti no kibeera kiteeka burden nnyingi nnyo ey'omusolo akasito kangi ku bannayuganda bakusobola kubanga bali beetaaga ndagabutonde nga n'abantu beetaaga ndagabutonde so ne bagamba bagenda kukozesa enkola ey'okukapcharinga amaaso ne feesi y'omuntu nga kamera ekulaba bulabi neetegeera nti y'ono mubeera eyo n'eminisita era nakkiriza nti nno by September abadde alina by August okuggwako abadde alina okuba nga yateekawo dda multi sectoral committees ey'enjawulo okutandika ku nsonga eno mu ministries ez'enjawulo era gyakkiriza nti tannagiteekawo era agenda gironchinga nga bali wamu ne permanent secretary okusobola okuwa procedure ya registration okugenda mu maaso nga bakolagana n'ebitongole nga electoral commission n'ebitongole ebirala mu mbeera eyo.